I talk a decent amount about destination addiction, people trying to get to the next best thing. And like, just throw the destinations aside and realize that there will always be another step in being the best at what you can do.
Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. I got my man Chase here. We are going to reflect on 2023. What a year. Oof. Can I just get, you know what? I'm just going to say it. Fuck.
Why don't you tell us how you really feel, Austin?
There's a lot more F's behind that one, but you know, my grandmother listens from time to time, so we'll keep it on the light side. What is your biggest, your first big takeaway from 2023?
That all great things take time. That would be the you know, I remember, I think I gave you 3 before, and that's going to be my big one is a lot of people, you know, in this world of instant gratification that we live in. You know, I had an economics professor in college that called it the McDonaldization of society. And, you know, it's gone even further than fast food now. It's like we can get an instant dopamine hit by looking at our phones or, you know, pressing a button and getting something that makes us feel good. And true things worth having take time and take effort. And 2023 has been a big old example of that.
I got a great friend, Anthony Pacino, who I did a podcast with, 60 episodes called The Brain Dump. I call him the human encyclopedia. The guy's read more books than anybody I've ever met. Super smart. And he says every investment looked upon the proper time horizon is a great investment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the truth because, and I'll use it in a different context. I've talked to 20 people this year that sold their business for like multi-millions and wish they didn't sell. It wasn't that they don't have the money. It's not that they're not appreciative of the money. It's that what they were seeking and what they enjoyed was the process and the growth. It wasn't the outcome. And so I think we need to change. You know, I was joking with somebody the other day. When I was a kid, dude, if you made 75 grand a year, you were balling. And now, like, every 25-year-old says if they're not a millionaire by 30, their life's over. I'm like, what are we doing here, guys?
Well, I mean, to be fair, $100,000 in 1983 is equivalent to $289,000 right now.
There you go. Well, that's all right, I guess. So yeah, things have changed, but that doesn't mean that you need to let it drive your behavior.
100%.
All right.
100%.
So my biggest takeaway from this year is the only way to truly sleep with a clear conscience is to speak your truths, period, end of story.
I mean, would we be heading into 2024 with the outlook that we have if you hadn't spoken your truth in the last few months?
No, I'd be in Acapulco, hiding out for 2 years, and then I'd come out with dreads. I'd be super tan. I'd have like a 12-pack. Be like, Jose, no Austin anymore. You know, I think a lot of times in life we seek guidance from others that we think are more experienced than us or whatever. And what I just told a brand new client this morning is I only have one goal for you, is to remove your need for external and have everything sourced and powered from internal.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to do that is to speak your truths. And we don't give ourselves enough credit to know what we know. And if you don't speak up, whether it be in a relationship, at work, with a friendship, and you don't set boundaries, and you don't say what's right, it's going to be a long life for you. Guys, let me take a minute to tell you about my buddies over at Lead Hub, Ben and Aaron. the best humans I know. Not only are they amazing at marketing for trade companies, but Ben started his HVAC company in his garage, sold it for multi-million dollars. So when this guy talks, I listen. When we took over Dietz Mechanical, we had 22 reviews in 22 years. In 7 short months, we went from 22 reviews to 107. We went from a 4.2 to a 4.7. We tripled our Facebook presence and we tripled our calls. If you're an HVAC, plumbing, electric, landscaping company, and you're looking for a no BS approach to marketing, you're looking for people who have done it before, you got to go to leadhub.net.
Authenticity is a superpower. Like, absolutely, 100% is a superpower. And I mean, have you seen the scale of like emotions? Like, you know, down the bottom is like fear and anger, and it goes to courage and then joy and peace. So they've done a study recently that authenticity vibrates higher than anything on that scale. You know, so what does that say about speaking your truth and being who you truly are?
The great Naval quote: "The only way to truly escape competition is to be authentically you."
I mean, 100%, man. That's, you know, talking about talks with clients. You know, I've taken on a couple of clients, mentoring them to build their online brands recently. And one of the biggest things I say out of the gate is, listen, some of these other coaches will tell you, well, here's the things that sell. And like, yeah, that's great. You could pander if you want, or you could build an actual personal brand. You could be a commodity, or you could be something unique. And that expands outside of online coaching. That's you as a human being in this world. You could be a commodity. You could be an NPC, if you will, or you could be something truly unique.
I love that. All right, what's another big takeaway from this year?
That time is a finite, even though it's imaginary, in this world, it's a finite resource. You know, for me personally, the journey of fatherhood and realizing how much time I had before and how much more, we'll say how much more disciplined or intent, how much more intention, that's the word I'm looking for, I get to put into where I place my time to move the needle to where it needs to go, and then still have time to be present as a father and a husband.
I mean, I'll be frank. I don't even have a kid yet. You know, probably like 2 years away.
Yeah.
And like, I think to myself on a regular basis, whether you're a mom or a dad, like, let's say you have 3 kids in school. Let's say you have a job. Let's say your husband runs a company. Let's say the wife runs a company. It doesn't really matter. Let's say the kids are in 3 sports. I'm like, how do you get anything done? Like, how do you go to the bank? How do you go to the grocery store? Like, I mean, what? My brothers, my sisters, they were in 3 sports each. 3 of them. With my dad running a business. And I'm like, you're like this. And so you don't have a choice. And you think your productivity, you think you're disciplined before you have kids. I would imagine that you have to get real good.
That's why, you see some of these influencers out there. They're like 20-somethings without a job, who like their only thing is to tell people how to be efficient and productive. But they have yet to have a mortgage, a career, or a family. And I'm like, bro, like that's cool. And like, no, like there's another layer or 8 here.
Dude, well, let it be known, and you all know who you are listening. There's about 40 people waiting on the sidelines that have been begging for 10 years. They're like, I can't wait to see you with some kids. They're like, I can't wait to see that 4 a.m., 5 a.m. We'll see. And I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be soft as Jell-O because I actually have a real soft spot for kids. But so, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So my big takeaway is that you really have to get, when you get started out, you're trying everything. I was thinking about it the other day. I've done so many different businesses, so many different partnerships, so many different kinds of businesses. And every single one of those going into it, I passionately thought it was my thing. And a lot of them wound up not being my thing, or I lied to myself saying they were my thing. But when you truly find what you do best, it frees you up to be you. And when you can stay in those buckets that are just you and leave everything else behind, man, it's freeing. And it takes a long time, and I'm 41 now, and I've done a million different things. But I am being supported and shepherded in the direction of the things that I do best. And one of those things is talking to the mic, and one of those things is networking with people. And, man, it is amazing when you get to do what you love and do it well, because I've met some people that I really respect. We're talking about, like, top of their field. And they said there is no other thing to seek than to be the best at what you do. Not good, the best. And they are obsessed with being the best, and that's where I am right now.
Yeah. There's a whole lot to pull out of there about people settling for good enough. You know, whether it's in what you do professionally, or how you show up as a partner, or for the parents out there, how you show up as a parent, or just how you show up as a friend, or just how you show up for yourself. Like, you know, I talk a decent amount about destination addiction, people trying to get to the next best thing. And, like, just throw the destinations aside and realize that there will always be another step in being the best at what you can do.
Mm-hmm. Dude, you might have not got a chance to listen to it, but there's this guy named David Cerna, and he is on the Founders Podcast. I ran into him at a business conference I was at. I said, David, I really enjoy you. I said, you're a little bit of a psychopath. He goes, oh, I'm a lunatic. He goes, I don't think you understand. I don't want to do anything more. He said, I've been doing it 7 years. He said, I'm going to do it another 30, and you're going to watch me. I'm gonna read autobiographies, and I'm gonna do a podcast. That's it. He said nothing else, nothing more. He goes, he's like literally quoting like 30 quotes to me. He's like, well, this quote from all these like great people.
Yep.
And he is exactly what you think he is. He is literally like there's nothing else in his world. He says no to anything else. It's like, no, sorry, that's not what I do. And that's what he does. And people are like, here's a bunch of money to go do what you love and have fun with it. And that's all he does. It's amazing. I am so inspired. Not even the podcast. I love the podcast. But just meeting him in person and seeing that maniacal like greatness that he's seeking. Oh, man. He said, nobody will touch me. He goes, nobody. Because they got a fund. They're doing real estate. They're coaching. He's like, I'm doing this. This is all I'm doing.
And for anybody that like has multiple things going on, if those all serve each other,
correct,
then they could all move to being the best. So there's delineation here of like, okay, I'm the best at, you know, like Austin Linney is the best I know at networking and building relationships. And in order to do that, it requires a podcast and the other ventures that are going on to create fruitful relationships.
No, it's the best, because what I would hope, right, for everybody that while you're listening to this headed into the new year, is let's say that's something that you loved, right? And 9 times out of 10, the question that you need to ask yourself is, what did you love when you were a teenager that you stopped doing? It's somewhere around there, and go seek to put that into your life this year, or seek something that gives you that, and I promise you'll be more joyful.
100%, man. It's you know, there's the naysayers out there that'll say, well, don't make your hobbies your job, because then you'll never enjoy them again. It's like, dude, that's a yes, and like keep some stuff for yourself.
Have you ever like been and I haven't even been, but I've been like, okay, perfect example. I was with my dad in Colorado Springs, and we did a zipline tour like across canyons. Like, this shit was crazy, like 6 football fields. And the guy was like a mechanical engineer. He was like going to school, but he loved what he was doing. And that was so, like, it was so cool to like, and you ever been like whitewater rafting, and the guide's like gets to spend his whole day like out on the river, like, you know, and it's like you see them and they're just like beaming from like ear to ear because they're just so in their element. Like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you know, and being the best to excel at your craft, regardless of what you're doing, you'll actually learn to enjoy it too, is a key thing that I want to just say very, very straightforward here. So many people are like, well, I hate my job. Yeah, well, if you keep telling yourself that, then you're going to get worse at your job, and then your boss is going to come down on you more, and then you're going to dislike your job more. What if you enjoy being good at wherever you are, and you become grateful for the life that your job does provide, the fact that you do have a house, the fact that you're able to get on social media and bitch about your job, which is a first world problem if you ask me. Then what happens then?
See, everybody doesn't understand. I really just want to be daddy daycare. I've been dreaming of that my whole life. People think I'm crazy. I'm like, I'm good, man. So, all right, one more takeaway from this year.
One more takeaway from this year. The energy matters. The energy in an organization, especially of who you're around and who you're going to build with, is crucial to what the outcome's going to be.
I think that we don't realize, because we're so in the moment, I don't think we realize how much other people's energy affects us. Look, I'll be very transparent. Myself and Cassandra, my lovely fiance, we are different people. And a lot of times my energy is too much for her, especially in the morning. So, that has to be respected, right? It's the same thing in business partnerships. Like if you're partnered with somebody who's like wildly pessimistic and super negative, like that's going to feel like a freaking grind every day. And look, I am wildly optimistic, okay? Like to like insanity levels sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes.
But there is a space for that to kind of like lead the team through, right? So like I really get affected by energy a lot. And if you don't have alignment in energy, and everything's a problem, and everything's a thing, and then like why are you even doing it in the first place? Like, life is too short.
Some people, because of whatever stories running in the background, want to find problems because they want to find something to fix, because then they feel like they've done something. And what if instead of finding problems to fix to bring us back to even, there's something we can do is to build even greater. And the limiting beliefs that the ceiling is where it's at are going to keep them looking for problems to just bang up against that ceiling over and over again, or fall back to the floor as opposed to building a new floor.
All right, and here's my controversial takeaway. I just had this conversation with our sales manager yesterday, and I wish I could have took a picture of the look on his face. I told him that learning everything you need to know about business wasn't as important as understanding human behavior.
Oh, 100%.
And he's like, I don't understand. And I'm like, well, like what you understand is like when you understand how people tick and you understand influence and support and emotions, then the business per se is irrelevant. And, understand that in a real estate deal, we'll use a real estate deal, the lender, the agent, the seller, the buyer, the property manager, the title company, every one of those people have a different outcome they're seeking. So you have to understand where everybody's coming from so they don't influence you the wrong way. And I think if a lot of people understood more in a human psychology and then their own in psychology, I think they would get a lot farther in business.
Well said. That's, I mean, that's what it is right there. There's a reason the three of us, the three amigos are running together, and I've said on podcasts that I ran a business, I know business, and at the same time, it sometimes feels like I tripped, fell, and landed into business acquisition, and when you know how to deal with people, and you know how to talk to people, and you know how to build relationships, and I'll loop it back to the beginning of the conversation. When you're showing up as your most authentic self, well, then you end up in the rooms that you belong in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So what is your message to the people as we get out of here for 2023 to wrap it up?
I'll stay away from talking about chimps. 2023 to 2024, it's a clear delineation on a calendar. You can choose to make a change now, and if you get 6 months in, 4 months in, 5 hours into 2024, and something went not according to plan, you can still get back on it. If it's Wednesday, you don't need to wait for next week. So set your sights on 2024. Ask yourself, what didn't I get done in 2023 that I could have? And make that the first thing you can execute on. And if you miss that in the first month, then re-execute in the next month. Don't write it off for the next year.
I love that. So my message to you is super simple. You've read enough books. You listen to enough podcasts. You listen to me talk way too much. You've read way too many books. And you're still in the same place. Put the books down. Put the podcast down. Put the foot in the fucking ground and move.
Yes. Move
towards more. More of you, more of love, more work, more money, more freedom, more happiness. Because you're the one that holds the key. And nobody's going to give it to you.
Yeah. I'll pile on that one. The books, the podcasts, whatever it be, the outside stuff that you're looking for it in, it's up to you to create the supporting evidence for all of that stuff that you've learned. That you are the person that does those things. And the only way to do that is to take action. So I love what you said.
Guys, y'all have a great 2023. Share this episode with a friend, and we'll see you in the new year.